Okay. Friggin' A. Finally. I think I'm streaming. Okay, cool. Should be streaming. It's... Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's January 4th on a Wednesday. And it's been a heck of a day so far. For anyone showing up live, I apologize for starting late. It's been a heck of a day so far. And hello, Harry. You may have noticed yesterday, unfortunately, Epic did not stream, and I didn't find this out until like right before their stream time. I would have streamed, but I had nothing really planned. Well, technically my Tuesdays and Thursdays are now supposed to be for research and stuff like that, so I had that planned, so I had nothing planned to stream. So I didn't do the streaming, I just did the normal video release. And I did a lot. I got a lot done yesterday. For anyone catching up, we are trying to do a random dungeon generator. And where we ended on Monday was we were making this kind of like this little custom mesh generator where we could actually design it in the scene. We can adjust some things. We can give ourselves kind of like a wall that we're working on building. We got to the point where I was making it where we could define some values rather than these key points. But I was just showing off custom meshes because they're kind of fun. Now the issue that I ran into yesterday... Oh crap, am I still... Son of a gun. Thank you, Harry. At some point I've got to remember to switch over. I even leave it on the screen and I still forget. So this is what we did, basically. The ability to kind of like make a custom mesh. I showed people how to do the custom mesh code and making a box, basically. And that's this big old funky bit of code here. But it worked. Now, yesterday I did my research, like I was saying. I started looking into further things. I would like to use the custom meshes in order to create our dungeons. But I need to see if it was even possible, feasible, and how much it would take to do it. So... yesterday, I went looking custom meshes, and this is an issue I ran into. If we're going to material, mat, something. If we're going to take a material and we're going to, I hope I have a texture in here somewhere. We'll go with this logo card. That should work. And we slap a texture onto our custom mesh that we created. So we go in here, and this is not too hard. We basically, we're doing this in the construction. We're going to create a dynamic material instance from our custom mesh, and we're going to assign it our something material like that. And this is what we come up with. And you'll notice a small problem. This is what our material should look like on our box. This is the result we get. Well, after doing some research, the custom mesh component, it really doesn't support UVs. Without UVs, we really cannot assign any sort of texture that has any sort of UV space. We could do a texture, you know, like this, give ourselves a color, and it would work fine. We're not mapping anything with the texture. But if we're going to actually do something where we want a texture on it, which in theory, if you're going to do a dungeon generator, you probably want walls or something, this isn't going to work. So that was kind of a bump. So then I went looking at some other stuff, and I looked at the procedural mesh component. So apparently the procedural mesh component, if I can figure out where the hell I put that project at, here we go, is designed to basically be the next version of the custom mesh component. It's technically still in, it says experimental right now, but it seems to work pretty good. And if we look at our custom mesh generator here, and we look at the code to do this, basically the custom mesh, if we go under components, custom mesh, it really only has three things. We can add triangles, clear triangles, or set triangles. And this is basically, you know, set the full group or add to the existing. But that's it. If we pull up our room mesh here, this is my procedural mesh, and we look under components, procedural mesh, we actually find, well, there's a whole chunk of them. And then the actual code here for creating. On this one, you'll notice this is basically it. We add the triangles that defines our mesh. The procedural mesh has things such as which section it is, which applies to materials, the actual vertices, so basically the same thing we were using here, basically the same thing. But the actual vertices, the actual triangles, normals, UVs, vertex colors, tangents, and the ability to create collision on or off. So this is technically what we needed. Now I went ahead and spent a couple hours trying to figure things out, and it is a giant pain in the rear. But I was actually able to make something that I wasn't too horribly unhappy with. Let's put this to something like 100, 100, 100. And we'll zoom in. This is a little room. We could actually go in it. You see we've got walls. We have 4 walls and a ceiling. You can see we have 4 walls and a ceiling. And it's completely adjustable. I could make this wall 600 by 400 by 300 tall. And it will build itself out appropriately. It will go through. It creates, if we were to look at our procedural mesh itself, I go through the code. It actually creates 4 walls right here, and then the ceiling out of points. So we are literally building this entire thing, 4 walls and the ceiling from scratch. And then we're also going through and we are UVing it, which allows us to have textures. So we're setting up a UV space. Now, I mentioned before, I am not an artist, so this stuff, I'm not going to joke, I probably spent 9 hours yesterday getting what you see here working. Because it's technically dynamic. We actually have a roof that will fit itself to whatever size we set up. This thing will spawn basically around, so like whatever this is. So like for example, I could go into here, let me unhook the ceiling, and go ahead and run this, and you'll see it's building out. We could put this item right here, I could do this, and you can see it's expanding around the middle. Now that's not normally what it does, it normally builds out at the point, so I just had to do some code. But it's completely adjustable for whatever we want, whatever purposes. And even the wall thickness, as you can see here, the wall thickness is built out. So you're actually guaranteed whatever dimension size, you tell it right here. So if I want 1,000 by 1,000 by 300, I'm going to get 1,000 by 1,000 by 300, and my wall thickness is not going to, for example, cut back in. They're going to go out from it. And then, of course, if we were to put our ceiling back on it, if I stop saving, we'll just slap our ceiling back on it, and boom, our ceiling now will fit, and it won't really matter. Our wall thickness, it adjusts itself appropriately. Obviously, you would do that in the real game, but it's meant to be kind of adjustable. Now, the problem, because we're doing custom UVs, basically I set up the UV space the way I know how to do it, which is a 0 to 1 range, basically defining the bottom left corner to the top right corner. So your textures basically stretch all the way across. So here's our 0, 0, and here's our 1, 1, and then I just set it up. When you are doing these custom meshes, not custom, let me go back to this one, sorry. When you're doing the procedural meshes, you define your layout for your UVs. You define the layout for your triangles, you define where your vertices are, then you can do even things like laying out your normals, vertex colors, and tangents, like I mentioned. Because of that, I've got to stop tabbing. And because I'm not an artist, and because, again, you manually lay it out, you end up with issues like this. If you'll notice here, our wall right here has this issue on the left-hand side, this smearing of a texture. You'll notice the side of our roof, the top looks fine, but our sides look basically like they're smeared. The problem is these right here, these sides basically, because the way I've set up the material, because the way I've set up the UVs, it's basically this texture stretched from here, well, from this corner to this corner, stretched all the way across. No form of tiling or anything like that. And it's the same issue with this. This wall right here basically has an end cap against this wall, and that's why this is the edge you can see. Technically, if I didn't draw this wall right here, this wall, you'd see the edge and you'd see the same issue. You can even look on the bottom and you'll see the same problem down here. So, long story short, as much as I'd like to use the procedural meshes for our dungeon generator, unless I spent a lot of time working on getting good UV mapping or getting a good material, because technically if we were to pull up our wall material, this is, and also technically I had to do something special. Right here we have a wall X material, and right here we have a wall Y material. If I was to, for example, put in the same material for all of these, so we'll go with wall X. Wherever I put it at, I know it's in here somewhere. We'll go with wall X for this one and compile. You'll see we have this issue. Because this is along the Y plane for the texturing, texture mapping, basically, and the material, if we pull up the material itself right here, it's material wall, hold on a second. It's using the world position to make sure things are tiled properly. It's only set to go either on the X plane, the Y plane, or the Z plane. So I technically have one material, multiple instances, and that's why we come across this issue. Now, with all that said, technically there is a way around this. Let me go back to my wall Y so at least looks the same. XX. Oh no, it would help if I change the right one. There we go. Okay. You could use basically triplanar mapping. We could use world coordinates and basically create one master material that would tile appropriately in world space based on which axis this texture is on, whether it's on the, the normals are facing X, Y, or Z. So you'd be able to technically fix this issue. However, it's kind of basically a hacky workaround to an improperly created mesh. And that's what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to lie. I've never sugarcoated it. I'm not an artist. This is an improperly created mesh. Well, sorry. Yeah, you know what? It's an improperly created mesh. The mesh physically is correct, but the UVs are mapped out incorrectly. So, and I don't really know how to fix that without doing more research. So, the goal of this problem right here, the procedural mesh generation, was to try to help out someone, Schlumpf, and allow him to basically learn how to put holes into walls and things like that. Which technically I did do. I've got another project somewhere. Oh, let me see if it's my playground. Hold on a second. I'll say I did successfully. I was busy yesterday. That's why I wanted Tuesdays and Thursdays to not have to stream, so I can do a research to make sure we could fill things out. Yeah, okay, so this is the procedural mesh, which I probably broke, if I remember correctly. Oh no, I think it's set to begin play only now. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this was what this is where I originally came into the issue with the procedural meshes and being able to do adjustments and things like that. This is a wall I created, basically. And it's composed of 3 different sections. You can actually tell if you look. This left section, the top section, and then the right section. And then we have a hole that we can walk through in the middle here. You'll notice our texture maps are basically not the same. They are the same in the fact that we have a single texture that scales from the bottom left to the top right for each of these sections. That's why the middle section has smaller bricks. We're not using any sort of world positioning, things like that. So this was my first attempt before I moved over to the other one for the room and things like that. The goal was to try to help out Schlumpf and show him how to do something like this. To go from a single wall and then be able to push a button and carve a door out of it. Now the problem I ran into is you end up with this issue. The wall, when it was by itself without the door in it, so actually if we go to, I think I can do this in real time if I remember. Well, I apparently have 2 mesh generators in here also. Give me a second. Right, the second one. Here we go. And I had a checkbox, yeah, which apparently I broke at some point. Yeah, I was doing so much crap yesterday, it's not even funny. What did I do? Why did that stop working? Create mesh section. Yeah, that should have worked. I have a feeling I just didn't double check on something. I don't remember. I don't know. It was a heck of a day. But basically, when I was trying to show which, let's see if we can do it from the start. There we go. So there is the original wall. This is what I meant to show. And you notice how the texture map is from here to here, this scale. And when I was to adjust this at real time and cut the hole through the wall, the problem we ran into was the hole would be cut through the wall, but you saw, because I had 3 different pieces, our UVs were screwed up. So I stopped working on that and moved over to the next one. What I was trying to say, and I got distracted with sort of on that one, was the goal for using the procedural meshes was to try to allow us to create the rooms from scratch, literally, and then have the ability to carve in windows and doors and stuff like that. That was the goal. It's a good goal. I'm not going to argue with that. It was also used for demonstration purposes to show someone how to do it. However, in a traditional dungeon generator, or a traditional randomly seeded dungeon, you know, Final Fantasy 14 with their Palace of the Dead has it. The Kings and Heroes is an Unreal Engine game that I've been playing. It does it like that. You're basically going to use set pieces and rooms, and you're going to have predefined props and things like that. And your room is just basically going to fill itself out based on predefined stuff. As much as I'd like to continue with this procedural mesh and using this for our system, I don't think it's going to work out appropriately for what we want. It's going to, at the most, give us something that will work. However, it's going to limit what we can do with it, and it's going to cause some graphical issues. So I'm not going to proceed with the procedural mesh for a dungeon generator. I'm glad I had yesterday off to figure this out rather than spending 2 or 3 full live streams doing this before we made that decision. We're going to, let me close this one down. I'm going to continue on with the procedural mesh for the video purposes, the pre-recorded videos and stuff like that, to show how they're created, how they're used, and things like that. But for our actual dungeon generator, which we have here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use pre-created pieces. Epic provides the Infinity Blade assets, and this is some characters, some enemies, some weapons, some effects, but then you also have the Grasslands, Icelands, and Firelands. And the cool part about that is you basically have, oops, and I gotta open up the project here. You basically have a bunch of pretty nice, almost AAA, they're meant for mobile, assets that we could actually use inside of our project. So what we're going to do is, here's all the assets here, for example, and if I pull up some of them, like our grassland, let's see if I can find something appropriate in here. I realized I didn't have the example project open, and I don't want to get all of the stuff to compile. So we got stuff like this. We have, like, for example, you can see here we have an actual door that we can use in our project. And we have some columns and some arches. You have some, currently this is called a cover, but I mean it would work as like a prop inside the room. You have pillars, you have walls, you have stairs. So you have different pieces that you can use to build out our project. Let's see. I think Ruins has got one in here. Yeah, Ruins has got different castle pieces, for example. Here's a wall. So, you know, we could take something like this wall and we can build out, once the wall loads up, we can build out pieces. That's going to look really weird because of the way it's set up, but hopefully there's a wall that we can find that actually works in terms of snapping together. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a room. We're just going to create a room that looks a simple way. And we're going to basically turn that into a blueprint. So it's a room that we're going to be able to spawn in and instance out when we want. And then we'll work on the generator, and then we'll work on filling these rooms out into certain places. Now, the nice part is when you do it this way, we can still have our customization in terms of room size. Assuming I can find the right pieces in here and I've got 3 different packs to go through, and I'll have to find the right ones. You have predetermined sizes in terms of things for snapping. So if we, for example, decide to go with this wall right here, we'll find that the wall is going to be this size, and we can use this basically to be 1 tile size. So if we were going to create a room, we would basically determine, okay, well, we have this much room, so what size would go into that room in terms of our space? How much space do we have to build something? And we can then basically take our blueprint and say, okay, we want the wall to be this many tiles, we want it to be this many tiles in this direction, this many tiles tall, and we can still technically make a customized room, basically. It's just going to use predefined tile sizes and things like that. But we're going to go ahead and use predefined props and such just to speed up the process and to give us something that at least, you know, could be used. We're not going to scale. That is the key here. That is one of the biggest differences in the issue we ran into with the texture. We are not going to scale anything. We're not going to be like, okay, well, our wall wants to be this big, so we're going to make it this big. We're not going to do that. We are going to say, okay, we have a 30 by 30 grid that we are going to place rooms into. One of our rooms is going to take up 3 by 3 grids. So when we make our room, we're going to design it to be 3 by 3 using existing sizes like this. So we'd end up with something, oops, and that was me duplicating instead of rotating. Oh, crap. There we go. Oh, seriously. I want that to be the pivot point. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll end up with something like that. I know this is kind of a weird example, but we're going to end up making a room out of predetermined tiles, and we'd go with something like that. So that could be a 3 by 3 room. A 1 by 1 room would, you know, basically consist of, oops, that would be me rotating in the wrong direction. Something like this. And we go like that, and we'd fill up our dungeon with predetermined rooms based on the sizes we determined. So we'll pick a spot, determine we want to spawn in a 3 by 3 room. We'll drop our blueprint actor into that location, and then say, okay, go left this size, put a wall, you know, a certain number of pieces, go down, put a certain number of pieces, go right, and build out our room, maybe do some props. There's so many different ways of doing this, and since we kind of want to make this as randomish as possible, you do end up losing some of your uniqueness due to you know, your even some of your games that are randomly generated, they're basically going to randomly connect predetermined rooms and props. An artist will go in and design fountain room, and it's going to have an entrance from the south, for example, and then they'll design fire pit room, and they'll design all your different rooms, and then it basically will pick one that's appropriate and attach it, and then move to the next section. That's a lot of work. That is a lot of work because you need a dedicated artist to basically flesh out your props. We're going to try to do something semi-similar and just find some good props in here and design out a nice room generator is what we're going to do. And it shouldn't be that bad because we'll know, once we find the right pieces in here, we'll know the right sizes for our dimensions. We'll be able to just say basically set up our tiles based on those dimension sizes, and then we can go from there. You know, and then we'll be able to do stuff like we need a door up there, so we'll have the appropriate, I have no friggin' clue where it would be, but we'd have the appropriate item that works as a door in that spot. That is so not in the right spot. That looks horrible in that spot. Obviously, these are not the right, you know, meshes I'm using here. But we'll figure it out. There are I want to say in the Firelands, for example, you got to keep in mind we're kind of making this stuff out of what we have because, well, I'm not an artist and I don't have like a predetermined, I don't have a dungeon tile set, and I don't have one I could give out, or I'd love to be able to do that. Is it in here? Here we go. Flame dungeon. Walls. Yeah, like for example, here's walls for a dungeon. Okay, so don't save. We have stuff like this, so we could grab like there's a dungeon wall. Here's a dungeon wall. You'll notice they have certain sizes. We can get them stacked together appropriately. Obviously, I'm not snapping crap right now because I don't know how to do it. We have a door, but it's probably in here somewhere. I don't know. There's an archway. We could use this as a door, for example, as weird as it looks. And then just build out a dungeon. Well, I'll figure it out. I have to find some stuff. I'm gonna have to go through here. This will be my project for tomorrow, is to go through here and do stuff like that. Right now, I want to see if we can just grab our existing dungeon generator project, and we're going to nuke these blueprints and not use them, mainly due to the fact that, again, we're not going to use them. And we're going to start working on just our generic spawner, just to spawn stuff around us and see if we can quickly get like a room generated, because then we can start putting in props and stuff like that. Not props, real meshes. Something I want to show, though, before I move into that, is I'm able to do all this stuff now because of the locking everything behind Epic's GitHub account, like I was trying to do in the beginning of the stream on Monday. I mentioned that was something I was trying to do. So I was able to finally successfully do that. If we go into here under my projects called Unreal Engine projects, it's forked from the actual Epic Games fork. So if I was to log out, for example, and we tried to go there, so M1 State Unreal Engine projects, you'll find it gives you the error. The error is because you don't have access to it and you're not logged in. So only people who are now logged in and has the ability to go to Epic's fork of code, which means that they're technically registered partners under Epic's end user license agreement. Only they will have access to this project now. Now that that's set up, I have the ability to have different branches for different projects. So, for example, we have a dungeon generator branch, which is what we're working on now. But then I have my WTF examples branch under here as a separate thing. Now we'll be able to use the official Epic animations and example content and publish these example files for people to download. And even though it includes the Epic content that they freely licensed, I am ensuring that only licensees have access to it. It took me a while to get this working. I did this yesterday as well. Yesterday was a busy day, but this is what I finally got accomplished. This is what I tried to do at the beginning of Monday's stream, and it just took me a while before I finally got it working. But that's the good news. Now we can use all the official stuff. Because if you've ever noticed, anyone who's actually watched, wrong one, here we go. The actual example project file that I've been using over the last year doesn't contain anything from Epic. All of the code in here is code that I've created. All the images are engine images or stuff I've put in. And you'll notice even stuff as simple as our main character, the character that you can control, is just this little box. And that was because technically I don't have access to redo. I don't have authorization to redistribute the Epic mannequin, the little gray dude. Even though it's free for anyone who has the engine, it's only for licensees. So you had to have it locked down. Now we can actually use the mannequin in our project, which is what I'm working on now. So that's good. That means I was able to accomplish a crap ton of stuff, and I'm happy about that. And hello, Shalom. You may have missed a bit. Let me just recap for you, Shalom, basically what happened and move on. One of the things you asked for help with, and I said I was going to try to do, was help, your walls and stuff like that. One of the things we were going to try to do with this dungeon generator was to use the custom and procedural meshes. Ran into some issues and some limitations. We're not going to use procedural meshes or custom meshes for the dungeon generator. However, I do have enough information with the procedural meshes, right here, for example, this is a procedural mesh. It's actually 4 walls and a ceiling. And I have the ability to alter it in real time. So I can define sizes, width, and things like that. Based on this information and what you're looking for, even though I'm not going to be able to show you how to do it inside of our dungeon generator project, I will be doing separate videos covering procedural meshes and concept videos showing how to, for example, do a wall and then shoot a hole through the wall, which is what you're looking for. So I will be covering that hopefully this month. So while it's not part of the dungeon generator, it still will be covered. Because this is technically what you're looking for to do what you want. You're going to want a procedural mesh. And it basically, it's a giant, complicated, you're basically drawing a 3D model by hand, is what it is. But it'll allow us to basically define a wall, because if you look at in my example here, and I know this is a repetition for other people, I have 4 walls being drawn and a ceiling. So I could, for example, just cut the ceiling off and you can actually see all 4 walls. So I basically, with this setup in here, I have the ability to define my walls, my points, and all that stuff. And we will work that into the ability to define a hit point, define dimensions for a window or a door, for example, and then remake our mesh with that hole cut out of it. So that is going to be the next project that I'll be working on as the recorded stuff. So we will be working on that. I was technically able to do that using the custom meshes and the boxes, but I ran into a textured UV issue, and I need to work around that, which is why that's not really done right now. So anyways, I got cats trying to kill me right now. It is going to be hard, but it just takes a little while to wrap around how the procedural mesh works and getting things like that working. I found a pretty decent way of designing that system you just saw with that room that's adjustable, and I think explaining the system and explaining it visually is going to help. Maybe it will help you. That's the goal. We will get a system working, and hopefully it'll be easy enough to actually understand, which is kind of the point. Okay, so let's see. Blueprint room spawner. Let's just make this super stupid. And hello, Headclot. I did see you sneak in. Okay. So let's see if we can really quickly, because it's a friggin' Wednesday and I got kids coming home soon. And it's just been a heck of a day. Let's see if we can really quickly do something really stupid. We need a... I don't have a mesh, which is kind of going to be a problem here. So let's quickly do that. Let's give ourselves a box. We're going to make this really simple. We do 100, 100 on the Z, and 20 on the Y. And now, is this the way I want to do that? This is where the question comes in. Technically, your X is considered forward, so we are going to... We're going to make our X our depth. This is what I was working on yesterday. Yeah, we're going to make our X our depth is what we're going to do. And we're going to make our Y positive is going to be the length of the thing, and then Z positive. Okay, yeah. So we're going to go with that. We're going to create a stack mesh out of it. Make a new folder called meshes. And we'll just call this one stack mesh 100 by 1. Oh, crap. How do we want to do this? X, Y, Z is probably the best bet. So X, Y, Z. We'll go with that. Stack mesh, and then wall, and then dimensions. So go with that. We'll get rid of it. Let's find our wall. Let's go ahead and fix it. So this is where, again, we've done this a couple times before. We're going to export this out to an FBX file, drop it in our downloads folder, and then re-import it back in, so that way we can reposition the pivot point, which we'll worry about here in a second. And let's not worry about a material. I'll give it another material in a second. Yeah, because this thing's going to be off. So we kind of, hello Julius, we kind of need to determine This is, keep in mind, this is only going to be temporary. I want to quickly get this stuff done before I figure out the meshes and everything tomorrow, because I need to figure out which meshes are going to work for this. But this is where we need to determine, when we are creating this room, how are we going to spawn stuff? For example, let's say this is my spawner. Let's put him down on the ground right here. Let me move my ground down. I've never figured out why they made that like that. So this is going to be our spawn point for our spawner, dead in the middle. And let's say I wanted a room to go around me, one tile each. We're going to want the bottom thingy, the alignment point or the pivot point to be on the floor. So that won't be an issue. We're going to move this down. But do we want it to be in the center, or do we want it to be in one of the corners? I think I'm going to do the center. So let's grab our mesh. And we know it's 20 by 20 by 20. So let's import translation. So we're not going to... Shoot, this is where... We're going to adjust it on the X, which should be -10. And then our Y should be down 50, and our Z should be down 50. So I think it's going to be... I think that's what we want. This is... What's nice is easy to find out. Re-import. And, okay. I'm going to go with no. I did that wrong. That is not what we wanted. Oh, that is funnier than hell, to be honest. I don't know how I ended up with it up there, but that's not what we wanted. Okay, let me get rid of... Okay, so here's our... Oh, so how the hell did I screw that one up? 250? It should be 50, right? If it's 100 across, it should be... Is this... This is 100 across, right? I didn't screw that one up? Yeah, it's 100 across. So, we'll go with positive 25. Okay, now I'm just gonna admit I'm super confused at this point. Okay, let me reset my pivot point. Okay, so okay, you know what? Let's set this to 0 before we okay. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, this would be me being stupid here. I have a definite feeling this would be me being stupid. Okay, so let's try this again. And that's good, Julius. What are you going to cover? Okay, so it looks like we got the pivot point on the bottom, so that's what we wanted. And then we want the pivot point moved back on the X. -10, like that. No, we wanted it to go in the other direction. We want it to go 10 positive. We're going to go with that. Okay, cool. So now if we were, for example, going to spawn this in around our player, if we just picked the position we wanted it around our player, it should... Whoop, I deleted that, didn't I? Yep. It should basically spawn where we want it. So for example, if we wanted 100 on the X away from the player, if we move this 100 on the X, we're going to end up with it right where we want it. We want to make sure we get our pivot points. And then we're going to build our walls out, so that way we don't have to worry. We do have to design end caps at some point, but we'll deal with that in a second. I just wanted to get a wall that would work for what we want. So let's find our room spawner. And let's set up some really simple code here. And we're going to do on begin. We'll do this in the construction because we can't spawn. Yeah, we can't spawn in there. Spawn. Yeah. Actor from class. This will be the... Oh, shoot, this is a mesh, so that's not even going to work. We're going to have to attach a... Okay, we're going to have to add component. Stack mesh component, that's right. So where's our stack mesh component? It'd probably be under the stack mesh. It would probably help if I just typed in stack mesh. Yeah, that would be easier. Okay, so we're going to be repeating this 4 times. Or, you know, before we put this in a loop, let's just try to get this working. That would be smart. Okay, we're going to use automatic attachment. Our transform is going to basically be let's see, get actor transform. We're going to get where we are in the world, and then we are going to that is awesome, Julius. You run a gaming studio with 51 employees and gamers. You'll be building games, playing games, and let's play. That is awesome. What type of game? You said you're doing a Kickstarter. What type of Kickstarter are we doing? Add actor local transform. There's a way to add actor. Is it this one? I think it's this one. It's not what we want. I'm trying to. No, let's spawn them in at the correct spot and the correct rotation. Let's do this properly. I was trying to see if there's a way to cheat on this one, but we'll figure that out once we get to that point. So basically, this is just going to be add. We're going to add a vector, and we're just going to do x on 100. This is just to see if we can get something working here for now. So let's try to play, and obviously it doesn't help that all we did was add a stack mesh component without a stack mesh actually attached to it. There we go. I want to say, yep, so there's our starting point, and technically that is our 100 by 100 wall, off 100 by the starting point. Yep, okay. So if we were to simply take this code, and the key here is we want to just simply get something working, and then we can work on breaking it apart into like a function and loops, so that way we can then define things, and then we can actually turn this into something that's automated rather than this manual example here. So this one would be negative 100. So what we're doing here is spawning in one on each side. So on these ones, we're still going to have 100 and negative 100 to do the opposites. But if we add a rotation in here, so we're going to rotate around. Wasn't it rotate around axis? Are you seriously not going to do this for me? Or do we take? I think it's this one. Rotate vector around axis. Is this it? I don't know. Let's find out. Yep. This is all about experimentation. Let's see. Let's see what happens here. And then it's going to be on the z-axis, 90 degrees. And leave our rotation. Yeah. Let's see what happens here, shall we? Not what I was expecting, obviously. Crap. Let's see. Working on a game sort of like Star Citizen, but with more. Oh, that is cool. I know people like those games. Okay. I think I'm doing something extremely stupid here. And bear with me while I unstupid my head here. I'm trying to make this thing dynamic right now, which I should not be. So we're going to want to go 90 on the Y is what we want. This one was plus, right? Of course, I should have deleted that. So, okay. I'm going to go with rotation on the Y was not appropriate. Probably, I'm assuming the Z. Wait. I don't like this. Why does Y not work appropriately? Oh, okay. I'm not rotating around. I'm setting the new rotation. I'm an idiot. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm also setting everything to 90. That was kind of extremely stupid. That's right. You can't delete these stupid values to set them back to the proper ones. Yeah. Okay. All 0, 90. Okay. Cool. That worked. It's not right. It's still broken, but that works. I've also come across the other issue right now. Which is up to me to deal with. I'm not even worried about this for now. So we want to rotate and then we want to move probably. So when I was doing this the other way, what I was doing was positioning it and then rotating it. And I'm wondering if it would be smart to do that as well. I wonder if it would be smarter. This is one of those things where if you could break apart your workflow, it'll make it easier to change things. So let's spawn this in at the default transform. We're just simply going to spawn in this component, and then we're going to grab this component and we are going to set the transform. It's going to be the relative transform. So we're going to want the relative location and rotation, but we're going to set, and this allows us to set it after we have spawned it, which is the key here. So the current rotation is going to be fine. We are going to move, and you know what, we probably want to, you know what? Yeah, let's get rid of this stuff that I got ahead of myself on. Let's break this down into 3 distinct parts. That way we can make sure this is proper. This will also help us when we split this over into a function. We're going to create the mesh. Then after we create the mesh, we're going to set the rotation. After we set the rotation, we're going to set the relative location. This should allow us to it's one of those order of operation things. I'm sure there's a node in here that would do this properly for us. But I am not going to bother with that right now. I want actor location. There we go. No point in getting the transform. Then we'll just simply add vector, and we're going to add on the x 100. I can already see we're going to have an issue from something I did earlier. But yeah, we should have the same result. That was my goal, literally, to do the exact same result. But the nice part about this is to spawn, like for example, our left and right walls, we can just simply pass in a different value here and then go from there. So we would basically define our room, define our points in the room for our spawning, pass in the spawning points for the rooms, spanning the proper rotation for each piece, and then we just create an array of the proper rotations and spawn points, and we let the game loop it out like we want it. But for now, we are going to do this as a really simple setup for debugging purposes. And this right here should give us the other wall, so we're good there. Grab this code here. Grab this here. Spawn a third one. This one is going to be rotated, so we're going to rotate this around the Z to give us 90. And then we're going to end up, yep, right there. So we don't want this on the X. We're going to want this on the Y. So if we change this to, like, for example, 100 on the Y, it should give us what we are looking for. There we go. See, breaking things apart. That's one of those things that paper is good for. That's why we drew the little picture in our example. If you get to a point where you're trying to do too many things at once and you just get completely confused because stuff's not working right, break it down to as many steps as possible. See, you can see we actually have like our basic room here. Let's see, Stefan, can you do a tutorial on modular building? I tried doing the tutorial for Blueprint Games video game creation called Tutorial Modular Building. I don't know how to work 3ds Max. Well, technically, I did try modular and procedural building, and it's a giant pain in the butt. We're technically going to be doing modular building right now with our dungeon generator, where I'm technically building a room from scratch right now. Is what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean that's technically what I'm doing right now. So what I want to do is I want to take and expand our room. See, now, would we have end caps or would we just have walls? We'd probably have corner caps, right? So let's see if my cat will let me design a corner cap. Oh crap! How the hell am I going to design a corner cap out of BSP? I can do probably. Let's see if we can do this. Let's drop this in the middle and pull it up, and then grab another box, drop it in the middle, pull it up, and then move it over like that and over like that. Turn this one into subtractive, and that should give us a corner cap. Now, I forgot to resize this before I decided to do that. So that was going to be 20, 100, 100, and then 20, 100, 100. And obviously these things are in the wrong friggin' spot. Oh, crap. How am I? Okay, hold on a second. Bear with me here. Let's get rid of our subtractive one. Here. I have to do stupid math tricks here. Okay, so if we had something like this, which is going to be like that, and we have something like this, which is going to be like that, then we need something that is going to basically fill into this blank spot. This one would be right here, and this one would be rotated around like this, like that. So that is right there. That's what we want. We need to fill in this gap. So what are we looking at in terms of actual stuff here? Probably going to be what, 200 on the let's see. Definitely not that. Oh. Because I can reposition this once I get this thing cut properly. Let's go 50 on the X. Okay, so 100 wasn't right and 50 is not right. Is this math just failing miserably? Nope, it's just me failing miserably, not math. Ah, that was funny. 75. Oh crap, let's just go with our top view. There we go. You know, if you did something like this, it would probably be smarter. Okay, so we know it's not 60. It looks like it's 65 is what it is. See, if I was actually in here, I could use the proper grid snap. Seriously, I'm off by friggin' 1. Is that really what it is here? Nope, it's not 65. Again. Oh, what the hell is this? Is this gonna be some weird set of numbers? Like, or is it 70? See, this is why you stay in school and you do your friggin' math homework, because of stupid crap like this. And certain people's inability to do basic math problems. There we go. Now let's go with a 70, 70, 70 box. Drop this into here like this to cut it out. Like that. There we go. Obviously, it needs to go down. Whoa. Not 70 tall, 100 tall. So we can make sure it's... There we go. Now, I should have a friggin' corner cap, if I turn this into subtractive, that I can actually use. There we go. Now we've got a corner cap. create a static mesh out of it. Meshes, and this will be a static mesh wall corner. 20. Yeah, I'll just go with 20 because I have no friggin' clue. That's just the thickness. I don't know what the rest of it is. Gonna be honest here. Oh crap! Did I? I didn't have both brushes selected. Nope, I did not. Damn it. There we go. You need to have both brushes selected when you do the create static mesh, or else you're gonna run into an issue like that. 20. Let's just go with 20 since apparently I can't use the same one again. There we go. Now we have a proper wall corner that I'll have to reposition, but not even close to worried about that right now. And I saw a lot of people going on. Let's see. Marketplace, sales, hybrid RPTS. Modular building plugin, creation house in 3 minutes. Yeah, that's correct, Stefan. What you're asking, I do plan on doing something like that. It's probably using procedural meshes. I did this project yesterday. If I can figure out where the frick I put it again. This is what I was working on yesterday. This is when we decided we're going to go to using meshes instead of a procedural system. Because procedural systems cause issues with just how they work. But for example, just using a procedural mesh right here, I can design a building of whatever size I want and have it a fully fleshed out building. I have UV mapping texture issues, and that's something I plan on working on once I cover procedural meshes. But I mean, for example, this would be what you're talking about. Modular building plugin, procedural building, and things like that. That's what I am working on that, and I will be expanding on that probably this month in the pre-recorded videos. For this stuff, we're just working on getting our corner here. And I need to define where my corner is going to go. So if we drop this corner into our system properly, yeah, making windows and doors aren't a problem. You literally, it's all just math. Okay, so that is where our corner is going to be. Now we know that using math, that we can grab our center point and then we can go out and we can make walls. And then we can always just go left, place another wall, left, place another wall. So using math, we can design our walls. What we need to do is using math based on our corner points, where is our snap point going to be? And I'm thinking basically the snap point should be down here in this corner. So we can always go from here to here or here to here. So we're going to move our snap point down to there. So let's export that out. Let's go ahead and delete that and delete that. Import our new corner. We're going to import it. We're going to slap this back into here. And bring it back. I should probably have turned my snap back on. It would have made this a lot simpler. There we go. So we're going to want our corner point to be right here is what we're going to want. Which I just noticed. Is this proper math? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, it just looks weird because of we have 2 quads, basically. 2 quads? Yeah, 2 quads. So let's grab our mesh. Let's grab our mesh. And let's figure out where our new pivot point is going to be on our mesh. So it looks like it should be, let me tip my grid back to 5. There we go. 1, 5, 10, 15 on the X. I don't know if this is the proper X, but we'll find out here in a second. And we'll go back in here. Okay, it looks like that was proper X. And then probably negative on the Y, 15 negative on the Y. So we'll go with that and re-import. And no, it looks like that went the wrong way. So we want positive 15. Figure out where that went to. Let's go ahead and re-import like that. Okay, so we've got that in the corner now. Now what is our depth? What do we got? Our height is 100, so that's probably going to be 50 down, right? Like that. So it looks like our snap point is now in the proper spot. Right there. There we go. So now we can, no, I just want to get rid of that. There we go. Now we can technically build and rotate edges to finish up our room. So let's see about building that in properly. Now if we go into here, how far over was our snap point from the end? That's a wall. This is a corner. Let's drop a corner back in here. Top. So if we grab a wall and put it into here like this, we're talking, let's jump this up to 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then it's probably what? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 more. Okay, it looks like it's an even 100, which is what we were hoping for. Good. So if we get rid of that one, we basically, in order to put end caps on, we can find where our source code went to, which I completely lost it. Blueprint, our room spawner. We could technically cap these once we're done. Let's see. Ryan, I am basically doing a dungeon generator. Right now we're working on making a room spawner. So right now, for example, we have, and I'm using just temporary meshes because I haven't gone through the Infinity Blade assets to pull out the proper meshes we're going to use and the proper sizes. But basically I made this. This is our room. And then I made end caps so that we can cap it. There's two methods of doing this. Right now, basically, we're creating a wall across from it, then a wall there, and then a wall across from it. I'm thinking it might be smarter just in terms of building, like loop purposes. Do the first wall, and then go to its left, for example, or its right, and then build any other further walls, whatever length you've determined your wall to be, number of tiles. Once you get to the end, then you drop your end cap, then you basically rotate, do your line, end cap, rotate, until you're back to your beginning. Let's see how that works. That might be an interesting try. Let's do a variable in here. We'll call this, we'll just call this one width. Num tiles y is what we're going to call this. And we'll duplicate this. We'll call this num tiles log. We'll give both of these a, let's go with 3, and let's see what happens here. And I have not obviously done the code yet, so we're going to figure this out as we go along. So what we're going to want to do is, we know our math. We need to define another variable called tile size. We're going to go with tile size. And our tile size is going to be 100. So we know it is 100 units between each tile point. So we're going to spawn in our first stack mesh component. This is not going to work right for now, but we'll figure that out here in a second. We'll set the route. So we're basically going to do a for loop. Let's do this. So we're going to for loop, and we're going to need another one. So this could be current, side num. We'll just go with current side. Yeah, we'll just go with that. Okay. and we are going to do our loop. Okay, so our loop is going to start off at 0, and it's going to go to the tile size. So we kind of run into an issue. I'm doing this in a very strange way because this is the way I'm doing it, whether it's the right way or not. Feel free to speak up. The whole point of this is to take ideas. If anyone else has a really cool idea on how to basically modularly build a room from pieces, feel free to let me know. And as I'm going about this, again, I'm starting to think about issues. So, for example, let's say you've determined that this is going to be 2 tile sizes. So actually, let's go ahead and do this as 2, so we can run into this issue, because we would have ran into this technically before. Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, don't do it is not going to help. We're actually going to need to not start from this origin point. We're going to have to determine the corner is what we're going to have to do. Because, for example, here, we'll use this grid here as an example, and we'll use this as our center point for our room. If we have our room as 1 by 1, then it's pretty easy. 1, 1, 1, 1, and we connect the corners. But if our room was 2, then, well, what are we going to have? How is that 2 going to be set up, basically? If it's 2 tiles wide around the player, is there any sort of a... how would you do the corners, for example? That's actually the very good question here. So, crap. Yeah, and I've actually got kids coming home here soon. Crap. I just, I mean, we could always design it where your rooms have to be a multiple of 3, or 1 technically. I mean, that would be an easy solution to this problem. But is that a good solution? And let me show you what I'm talking about in terms of my issue here. So let's say we have ourselves a wall. Let's go and rotate our wall like this. Let me set, like this. Let's set our stat to 100, and this will make it easy. So we're going to go with this one, and this one, and this one. So here's a wall that's 3 by 3. And then if we were to grab the 3 of these, rotate it like this, move it over like this. Obviously, if it's 3 by 3, this needs to be off by another amount like that. So we have our wall right there. And imagine it goes all the way around. And then if we have a corner, of course, our corner would be in the appropriate spot as needed. I got my snap at 100. That's kind of not helping here. Let's see. What is this snap at right here? And see, these walls are technically backwards too, which is highly amusing. Technically, the wall should be like that because we want our snap inside. What is this right here? What do we got on the white? Negative 90. So this would be negative 1. Oops, this would be negative 190. And then these ones, their snaps. Yep, see, their snaps on the wrong side when I did this one. Obviously, if you're doing this properly. So this is going to be our wall if it's set to 3 by 3. And this is where one of our kind of our issues. Yeah. The what you're saying here is probably what I'm thinking I might do, but I want to visualize this so we can understand. So we kind of have a question here and an issue. If we are defining this room as a set number of tiles for the size, what do we mean by the set number of tiles for the size? Let me grab this and move it over. Let me rotate this This is one of the issues I ran into when I was doing the prototyping yesterday. Making the decisions, stuff like this. Okay, so we have this. This is a 3-tile width on the side, and then it's 3-tile width on the length, for example. So it's 3 by 3. However, the actual size of this entire thing, if we were to look at it, is going to be a 4 by 4. You'll notice it's got 4 squares, so it's 400 by 400 because our end caps are 50 plus another 50. So the entire thing actually takes up 400 by 400, even though each wall is technically 300. Yeah, the corner occupies a kind of a weird half tile. So that's kind of where the question comes in. Does this work? Do we design are the tiles designed where, for example, if you did a 3 by 3 room, is it technically 2 tiles plus 2 half tiles? Because technically you could have, if we move this out, we could move this one over, rotate it, and if you looked at it like this is a 3 by 3 room. Now that we have 2 solid tiles plus 2 half tiles. Yeah, we could extend corner tiles into full tiles, but I mean, I could see what you're saying, where you're technically have like you have like this corner tile being a 1 by 1 like that, and then a 1 here, and then a 1 like that. Maybe that would be a smarter solution to this. Having basically a 1 tile that is what's the friggin' word for this? A single tile on one side. I don't know about the shenanigans for the texture UVs on this stuff. The items we're going to use for this should already be textured, so I'm not really worried about it. The stupid part about this is one of the axes is going to be shorter. Well, no. If we do let's grab a box. Let's go with we want 20 on the X. We want we want we want 100 and 100 like this. Oops. Give me my W, snap it to the ground. Let's put my grid at 50. If we did something like this, because we can always combine these two like this. Then technically you kind of run into a sort of an issue. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. Your walls themselves, especially if you join your walls like that. But this would need to be more aligned of... Here, give me a second. We'd want something more like... Yeah, like that as your edge. So you're thinking something like this. So we end up with basically that for the edge, that for a corner, instead of trying to half snap. Well, not necessarily. You could UV from here to here, UV from here to here, and then you have nothing there. You just drop another small piece into there, for example. We could do like this, for example. So we technically have, in theory, that UV there and there should still be good. That might be a better solution. So for example, if you're designing a 1 by 1, what would a 1 by 1 look like? Would it look like this, basically? would this even be a proper 1x1? Because you technically end up with, or the 1v1 be like that. Let me get, oops, shoot. I'm trying to get this stupid thing centered up. Oh, I got too much crap selected on that. Yeah. There we go. I was trying to get centered up on a end line, but see, this looks like it ends up short unless I'm crazy. Oh, maybe it's just off by a little bit. See, this is why you need proper artists to do crap for you. Do you end up with a shorter room like this, don't you? If you want your entire, yeah, see, the problem is you'll end up with something like this if you just do a 1x1 room. Which might not be an issue if you basically limit your rooms to 2x2. You do something like that, and then maybe maybe it's not an issue. Maybe this is only an issue when you're trying to create a 1x1. You just limit it where you can't do 1x1. It has to be 2 or greater. So then, yeah, okay, I think we'll do that. I think I like that idea. This is all a bunch of stupidness, but I'm not going to argue against that one. Mesh wall corner 20 by 100. Here, let's try that. Okay, so our pivot point needs to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 50. We need to move our pivot point 50 in the Y. So 50 in the Y, and then probably 50 in the Z, and then I want to say, was it 10 on the X? Let's see if we got lucky with the first try on this one. Nope. So 10 on, negative 10 on the X. It only took 2 tries this time. I think we're getting pretty good at this. There we go. So then we're talking something like this, basically. Oops, endpoint. Move it over. Move it back, like that. So you're talking something like this. So if you had a 3x3 room, you'd end up like this. Obviously, you know, it'd help if we had things in the right spot like that. You know, we'd end up like this. If our anchor points are in the correct spot, then everything will be outside of our room, and our room itself should be a 3x3. So let's move this to, this does not, okay, this does not help having lit turned on. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. And then I'm pretty sure this is not centered like that. There we go. And then our 2 corners, for example, we could duplicate and rotate, drag them over to like this. This should be rotated over like this. See, now what I'm doing now, basically, this is kind of like your, a real designer would be doing something like this, using the tiles that the artists have created. Did I miss a piece? No, I didn't. He'd be using the tiles that the artist has created, and he would be making the level for you, is what he would be doing. So there we go. So something like that then. Yeah, it was hard to see because of the lit versus unlit and my shadows and all that crap. That's why I went with the unlit. It also doesn't help that I have the same friggin' texture for the crowd and everything. This still didn't help me resolve. I moved it over. Sorry, didn't move. trying to do is that. Make sure it's 3 by 3. I'm actually, because it's 100 by 100 for the bottom grid. So yeah, so if we designed it like this and our character would spawn like that in the middle, our room, for example, a room spawner, then we'll end up with a 3 by 3 room like this. And of course, if we wanted to make it like a 2 by 3, you're talking about simply spawning into end caps. And 2 by 2, of course, would be like that. So as long as you basically do not require it to be a 1, because if you have it a 1, you're going to end up with an issue. We end up with something like that, which isn't what we're going to want. And I don't even see the need for a 1 for this purpose. It might work, but okay, I think we'll do that then. Okay. It looks like this has potential. If I can figure out where all my extra ones are at. That should work. Okay. That's definitely something. Yeah, a lot of this is stuff you'd use in like Dungeon Keeper for building things dynamically. So we're going to go with the tile size of 100. We're going to go with a 2 by 2, and we'll see how that works out, is what we're going to do. Now, we need to think about this in terms of math. Every edge is going to have 2 corners, and then any amount of tile that's left over. So let's start with one of the tiles is what we want to do. Physics materials. Physics materials are on the material itself, and it's on the mesh itself. So like, for example, here's our floor, and here's physics right here. And then the physics material is down here under collision. And this is where you set your physics material. Yeah, the physics material will be on the item you're basically trying to adjust the collision of. So my mesh here under collision, this is where the physics material is. And the physics material, like people have mentioned, you can adjust that to make it more slippery when something collides with it. Rather than it having friction, it'll basically have, you can even have negative friction, which is kind of funny. Things just go flying. Kind of like a really fast belt. Let me get rid of that. Yeah, just on your ground plane for terrain, or on your items that consist of your ground, you want a physics material override for the simple collision. So, for example, just create a new physics material. Right here, physics material. And the physics material defines things like your friction and stuff like that. The friction is what determines how easily things can slide. So you have your settings in here, your physics material is done. Grab your ground, tell it you want to use the new physics material, and then that's how things react with physics. That's the key. It's with physics. I don't know if it affects the player at all. Oops. The problem, yeah, see, the character movement doesn't use physics to move. That's one thing to keep in mind. So, for example, if my player stops, he's not going to keep sliding because I'm not using impulses to move him forward. So that's something to keep in mind, depending on how you set up your stuff. It's only physics. Technically, if you move something from one point to another by picking it up, physics don't get involved. Assuming you moved it on that plane. If you drop it, obviously, then physics come into play. Okay, so... crap. I was hoping to at least get something basic working, but this is math at this point in time. Okay, so our loop is going to run like this. So, or the number, let's see, number of tiles. Let's go with wide right now. Okay. I'll do this one. Number of tiles wild, and our index, let's see, -1. Okay. Basically, this is if it's our first loop through here or our last loop through here. Oops, number of tiles wide. We want to spawn the corners is what we want to do. So this one should run 0, 0, and 1. So this should run twice. Our index on the first one should be 0. So based on this, we're going to run a select. And this is basically going to determine which mesh we're going to want to have in here. So we're going to go ahead and let's move this down here. This down here. We're going to add our static mesh no matter what. So that's not really an issue. Set static mesh. Output will be here. We're going to want to have the wall if it's a wall piece, and we're going to want a corner if it's a corner piece. So something like that. And then we set the relative rotation. So for example, this is going to be our first side. So we're going to set our rotation to nothing. So this will be another select. So we'll just keep this at nothing for now. And then we're going to now set the proper location. And the proper location is going to be based on our current index, based on how long it is. And it's going to be the half width, if I remember correctly. So let's say we are spawning in here. This is going to be our bottom point for our spawner. We're going to spawn in a corner first thing on the X. I don't think this is rotated right properly. I'll have to figure this out here shortly, because I don't think I rotate this properly. But if I can get it in the correct position, that's what I care about for now. So our proper rotation is this, and our proper position is going to be here, right? Right, that's not even the right corner, so that really didn't help my, let's get rid of the other corner so I don't get screwed up anymore. So let's try this again. Our proper position for this wall, assuming it's too wide, is going to be basically along the X of, you know, our 100. Whoops. So we're going to have the 100 on the X, so that's fine, because we're going to start off with that first wall. And then it's going to be back 100 upon whatever iteration. So we need to figure out the math to determine how to do this. So if it's our first one, how many times do we go to the left, for example? How many negatives? We're gonna have here, we need to split this. This value is going to be our tile size times wherever we actually are, and that's going to be a negative value. Yeah, it technically won't be a negative value either. Shit. Because it's going to be a positive as well. So we need to somehow figure out how to get an iterator. This is what I'm trying to visualize in terms of math. If we have these two pieces, ignore the rotation for now. I'm not even worried about the rotations. That's one of those other things to figure out. I need to put something on the ground. Give me a second. There we go. That way our ground is at least solid now. But it doesn't help. Whatever. We can see the grid. So when we spawn here, we have two things we're going to spawn. Our first loop through, we're going to spawn this one. We need to make sure its Y is back here at negative 100. The second time we come through the loop, we're going to want to spawn this one. Make sure our Y is at positive 100. So we basically need to figure out the proper math based on the number of tiles, because the number of tiles is 2, not number of tiles, our width is 2, how we determine how to get the values. And the reason I say it's got to be a formula, because let's say we have a 3 for our solution, like this, then we're going to have to know, and here's where our guy spawns right here, we're going to have to know that you need to go out to, you know, your X, for example. And then you're going to have to go back 100 to spawn. Shit, that's not even back 100, is it? That's back 150. Yep, see, so that's something to keep in mind too. That's back 150 because we have the 50 for the half plus the 100 here. Basically, loop 0 should be negative 200. Loop 1 should be, you know, technically 0. You know, these things are, whoops, negative 150. I'm trying to put this in stupid math terms, hopefully make things simpler. Relatively, these are what our values are going to be, 150. And the nice thing is we can visualize this. So our center one is going to be at 0. Yeah. Yeah, the uneven side, well, I mean, technically your sides always count add a half. I mean, if we were to go into, oh, crap. Yeah, this is where that math comes into effect, and you start subtracting and adding shit, and then my brain stops functioning properly. Okay, so let's go back to our code. I know we're going to need to do a mod in here. Yeah, because I mean, honestly, at this point in time, we set our relative location. Okay, you know what? Current tile. But we don't need to know the current tile because that's our iterator. Do we just subtract? No, because you can't, if you count 0, if 0 minus the total with the tile count. So, let's see. Harry's got an idea, and that's, yeah, this is where my dungeon stuff almost always fails. It's in terms of getting procedural math properly. So you're thinking the width tile count divided by 2. So are we talking like number of tiles wide, for example? And then divide that by 2. Let's just start throwing some stuff together and see what happens. See, the problem is we're going to end up getting a float value back out of this. If we have 2 tiles wide, then we technically have 1, or 2 divided by what is 1. Yeah. I might have to just simply end this and grab some dungeon math. Because I see what you're typing in there, Harry, but because I'm horrible with math, this leads me into an issue where I see that you're typing words, but my brain is literally completely shutting down. And no offense to you, you're probably explaining it very well. It's just... And actually, you know what's funny? Schlumpf just said dungeon math. That would probably make a pretty cool game. Make it like a first-person dungeon explorer, and you have to do math problems in order to beat enemies. That would be cool. I've looked at other math, and I know there's way more math in here that I don't have, and this is where my issue comes in. I think I'm going to try to do this the stupid way. Honestly, right now, let's not worry about trying to center it. It's the centering that's causing my issue, and this is what happens all the time. We're going to loop through however many tiles we need, and we're just going to spawn in the appropriate one. So if the first one's the first one, if the second one is the second one. And we're just going to simply take where it's at and spawn it, and then we're going to basically times 100 for the tile size, for whatever iterator is. We're just going to try to get something in here and working. So our index times our tile size, which is 100, and just simply spawn it in as our Y, like this. Let's see what happens. Let's get rid of our example stuff. Okay, cool. I mean, that worked. Perfect. That worked. Obviously, they're not rotated properly, but I mean, we did get something to work. And if we were to do something like, what are we doing? Number of tiles wide, like 3. Yeah, so we got stuff working. This is where our half offset, like you're talking about, is an issue here. I probably should have just started screwing around with numbers and then made the math work. See, and 4. Yeah, so 4 is it's basically just a half offset. We need to, any of the tiles need to be off by half is what it is. So if it is a, yeah, this is a really simple try to get this working in here thing. If this is going to be one of our walls, we're going to grab this number, subtract, like that, and we're gonna, if it is one of these, we're gonna do subtract 50. Okay. Oh, it would help if I plug that into there, right? Okay, so the subtracting wasn't right. Subtract -50, that should add 50, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Our X is still not right. I did something wrong, but at least we got our offset moved over, I think. It looks like maybe there's a overlap. Am I wrong there? I have a feeling our X is not correct because I don't have my proper rotation on these items. Yeah, these individual items are not properly rotated. Yeah, everything's rotated. Yeah, I've got lots of things on the wrong axes. I am not going to argue about that one at all. I definitely have wrong axes. This was just simply trying to get something into place, which means it probably didn't need to be, it probably should have been 50 if it was rotated properly. Is my problem. So for whatever reason, ooh, look at that. A lot of this stuff is rotated wrong. And this is because I don't have the axes in the correct way. Technically, I'm building out from a corner right now. Yeah, I am technically building out from the corner right now. Yeah, so as you can see here, if we're going to slap these two together like this, we run into the issue that we're seeing. This is rotated wrong, and this is rotated wrong. We want our X to be... crap. We technically wanted our X to be out, which means, do we just want to rotate? Whoa, what in the hell? Oh, I still had stuff in the world. Yeah. Hello, Stefan. Yeah, well, yeah, if I was doing something like this, -100, and then, I mean, it's gonna go out. Okay, I need to fix this right now, because this doesn't help that we can't see this when it's inside the world. We need to be able to see where our center point is, our spawn point. That's what I was trying to do here. Oops, let's go back to our own spawner. Okay. It's not only a school for ants, it's a school for math challenged dum-dums. Okay, so I've got kids home. I'm probably gonna have to work on wrapping this up. We got the basics in here. Okay, sorry for the silence on that one.
Sorry.
Okay.
I accidentally dropped it.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I've become a special needs aunt. I'm gonna wrap up with my kids here. I'm gonna spend a couple more minutes trying to figure out the basics. I think this does have more to do with the okay, words. Seriously, the words are failing me here. The rotation, because here's my guy, and if I want to move it on the X, I want to spawn it 100 at the X, and that's the expected result that I would hope for. Let's have this thing just spawn the walls like this. So, okay, and we end up getting the walls in the row like I figured. And if we were to do, the problem we're going to run into is if I want to do the other side, I need to rotate. Oh, I need to fix my ground.
Okay, so how long can I stay for?
Like 4:30.
Can I stay till 4:30?
Oh, crap. I meant to remove this. There we go. I wanted my grid back. That way I could use my grid for reference, as you can see here. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, I need, oh, for fuck's sake. Light source. Can you stop casting shadows, please? Thank you. Okay. Do I have, oh no, I don't have. Bear with me. Light source. Duplicate. Where's the stupid duplicate button? Seriously. Copy, edit, duplicate. There we go. Grab the other light source. Rotate. Rotate. Let's face it the other way. There we go. I have a flat cut scheme. That's what I was aiming for. So there is my 4 walls on that one. The question I have here now is...
My ear was typing really weird numbers. Like 8 all the way.
If we were to flop this... whoops. See, that should not be... Oops. I think... Hold on. Yeah, see? These are wrong. Doing no rotation at all, moving these things 100. Well, I have negative. Never mind. So they were. Oh my god. Okay, that's correct. See, I want it to spawn in that direction, and then it spawns basically from where I'm at 0, and then it spawns over 100 each time, so it moves it back 50. So if we were to, so yeah, we're going to basically. We have to rotate the items if we're going to spawn them on the other side. So yeah, we just visually need to figure this out. Okay. So I think we're good. This is spawning... Let me put my stupid character on the other side. So he's actually spawning the correct way. Or the correct spot of what we expect. And if we notice, our X forward should be that way. Yep, so that's spawning properly. X forward...
Can I get a pencil?
Yeah, and our item is basically going forward, and we're pulling it back 50 because of our offset. So that's good there. So if we were to take our first wall again, and let's turn this back into our corner. Now that I have everything visually set up, we look at our character, we can see that our corner is basically... offset improperly. And it will be a dungeon for ants. That is the point of all of this.
Safety's on.
we have a really bad rotation for this first one. So if we grab a wall and put it into place right here, like that, and then we grab a corner and put it into place, and then we move both of these actually over here, is that what we end up getting? And that's what we end up getting right here. Yeah. So this pivot should not be like this. This thing should be rotated like this. I need what is that? A 90 on the Z for the rotation. So if we delete that, we'll drop a new one in, we'll edit the mesh, we'll grab a 90 on the Z for the import rotation and re-import it. We'll look at this, there we go. Now we have at least a proper look there. We'll hit play. Okay, we have that working properly. It's not in the correct spot, but that's because our code is horribly, horribly, dementedly wrong right here, which is fine. Not an issue. Let's see if we can figure out exactly how it's spawning in. So our first character goes in here, our spawn point. Okay, so let's just spawn in. There we go. It says fur in walls. I don't know, does it say fur in walls? Where does it say fur in walls? I don't know. I think Ryan is having some crazy issues right now. Oh, when I play it? Oh! Aha! Funny! Ha ha ha! The walls spell F-R. Funny! Someone's a comedian. I won't say who it is. But it's not that funny. So if it's our first one or our last one, we spawn in the wall. And if we notice, that works properly. The second wall's not rotated, but that's not an issue. Technically, we don't want to spawn... Actually, you know what? We don't want to spawn in our last wall. That last wall is going to be the property of the next row. So we don't want to spawn in the next wall. We actually want to loop 2 less than our number of tiles wide. There we go. Okay, cool. So we're getting somewhere. This one shouldn't matter. We only care if it's our first one for our loop. Okay, now we need to figure out why our corner wall is not coming in properly. I completely screwed up the pivot point, apparently. How in Hamburger Helper did I do that? Okay, so somehow I screwed up the pivot point. So let's find it. And, the pivot point's probably screwed up because we rotated it. So that would make sense. Now that we've got a rotation on there, we have a bad pivot point. So we actually need to go, what? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 in the Y is what I'm going to guess. So let's put this at -10 and see what happens. Okay, we're good there. And then we're going to go 10, 20, 30, 40 on our X. So we're going to go with a -50. And now our pivot point's back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, our pivot point was screwed up because we rotated our base mesh. So now if we run play again, there we go. We've got our corner and we've got our one tile. We have an issue here though. We are supposed to be spawning, I believe, 4 tiles. So where is our... yeah, 4 tiles. And we basically, it looks like we have an overlap. We're spawning 1 plus 2 here, and then a third one. So our starting tile is not offset, or our additional tiles are not offset enough. So if we look at here, we are taking this, and we actually probably want to do... plus tile size. We want to do this one. We'll do an add int. So we're going to do int plus int. Drag this and drop it here. Drop this here. We'll try hitting play. And somehow I've screwed this up completely again. Huh. Okay. let's zero this out. Maybe I'm doing that one in the wrong direction. I'm doing that in the wrong direction. So this should definitely be a minus 50. Okay, there we go. Starter, next one, next one. This I don't need right here. So we didn't need to actually add +1 here. So we're good there. And we actually have something starting from where the player's at. There we go. A for loop should not be able to start from a negative number. Well, I should rephrase that. A for loop? Well, I think a for loop might be able to. I know for each won't because you can't have a negative item. But the nice thing is it's really simple to figure out. -10 to 0. I probably should have put in a last index here. So yes, a for loop can start off with a negative number. But the problem with that is technically we're going to have an issue with the number of tiles wide and stuff like that. I did kind of think about starting with a negative number and offsetting. I did think about that. I think the easiest solution to this, though, is all of this math works. It starts us off from our first point. Let's set this to 2. And all it should spawn is our first one. Okay. Let's set it to 7, and it should spawn the base 1 plus 6. Base 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 technically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus then our last one who doesn't spawn. So we've got that working right. What we need to do is add an actual adjustment based on the total number of tiles and how far to the left we basically want to go, how far negative we want to go. Or I guess technically it's probably going to be positive because we're adding a negative. So, or we're subtracting a negative anyways. What matters is this. Let's just move this over here. Let's go like this. Put this here. And we're going to have an adjustment node right here. So let's put an add right here. And this is going to be our offset. So our offset is going to be defined by how far to the left we want to go. So if we spawn this one in here and we have 7 total tiles are at 100, we just basically cut it. I believe we're just going to cut it in half. I mean, it makes sense to me, right? Obviously, that's why we do math. Integer times integer, each current side, times that, and then divide by 2. Stick this into here, and I'm not crazy, but nothing changed, right? 7 tiles. Oh, seriously. It would help if you plugged in the proper variable. Okay, so that went the opposite direction of what we wanted. So we'll go ahead and set this to a subtract. We'll subtract that like that. We'll hit play, and let's see. Here's our center point. We have 1 tile in each direction, 1 tile in each direction, 1 tile in each direction, right? Hold on. 1, 2, 3 tiles. 1, 2. Okay, so if we added our end cap, this is not going to look right. Am I wrong? This is not the middle. It's probably going to be that divided by 2 and then minus half a tile, I bet you. Or minus half a tile. Oops, that's a vector. Okay, so we have 1, 2.5, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so it's definitely not right either. Oh my god, seriously? I'm forgetting numbers a lot today. Okay, 1 and 1 on each side, 1 and 1 on each side, 1 and 1 on each side, then we have an end cap. Yeah, No, shit, we're still off. It was it probably fine? Did I probably not need this part? Was my eyeballs just simply not working right? One on each side. One on each side, and then a 2 on each side. And then, no, see, because I only have a full. Oh, no, because there'd be a half. Oh, okay, yeah, you know, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think we don't need this. It's just the fact that I don't have an end cap that's driving me crazy. And I figure we don't need an end cap because we're just going to draw this. So we draw this edge, then we draw corner, edge, corner, edge, corner, edge, boom, we're done. That's how it should work in theory. So all we have to do at this point is to take this code, and we're just going to change our rotation by 90 degrees every time, and it should work, right? If it should, let's go with it should work, and I'm going to go with it should work. So let's see what happens if we simply take this code, copy it out, slap it down here, grab our completed down here. Am I grabbing our current tile anywhere? No, okay. And let's just do a 90 on our Z and see what happens. Ooh, look at that. That did not come out right. That did not come out right. Nope, definitely didn't come out right. Okay, so what did we do wrong here? We start off... Oh, because we want... Well, technically this is number of tiles long, but it really doesn't matter for this. We spawn it in. We set our mesh to the corner or whatever. Yeah, so we should spawn it in. Then we should rotate it. And then we move it. So we're not moving it on our correct axes, probably right here. So we probably want to move it... something like, is it this one? Let's see. Ooh, look at that. Number of tiles long. Let's go with 5. Let's see what spawns in. Okay, so we are off by 100, which is where I plan on being, so we're good there. I wonder if I'm going about this wrong. Yeah, I'm wondering if... See, you'd think the rotation would work fine here, but it's not. This first one's working fine. These ones right here. Okay. I'm gonna give this a couple more minutes. I think I'm gonna might refactor this code. This has been a very weird day. This is why I've never proceeded far with a dungeon generator. There's a lot of math if you want to try to make it decent. And fuck math. It just, if we could get rid of math in the world, it would be so much easier. If we had like giant machines that could do math for us and tell us answers, it would be nice. Oh, I don't think this is going to be the right rotation now that I think about it. No, see, those did rotate right. That's the funny part about this. Did it do it backwards? Oh. Is it trying to draw? No, because it should be doing the first one. I don't fucking know. Okay, you know what? I think this method is poor in terms of its implementation. I think a smarter way might be to basically trace around the room and draw each piece as needed, which should be pretty simple if you define the tile size and current position. I was trying to make a joke, and apparently it was pretty bad. So this is my thought process. I'm gonna rework this. we've got the basics down, but I'm thinking we have our origin point. Yeah, basically like a printer. It's probably the smart way of doing this. Maybe not necessarily like a dot matrix, but maybe in a roundabout way. Actually, you know what? I wonder if the dot matrix, what you're talking about, like an old school line-by-line printer, might be the smarter way of doing this. My original thought was, let's say we had a 5x5 room here. Let's just say a 4x4. It's probably easier. We would know that the room should encompass the player 2 in each direction, and basically 2 in each direction. We could do math and figure that out, basically. So we would know that this grid should spawn a corner, and then we would go to the next grid and know it should spawn a wall, next grid wall, next grid corner, and then we could do wall, nothing, nothing, wall, and repeat down and down. Or we do a corner, we go forward, we do another wall, we do another wall, then we do our corner, rotate. We know that we would need to rotate and plop our corner down, and then we follow it along. Wall, wall, corner, rotate, wall, wall, corner, rotate. We basically have like a little, we just basically use a transform that we keep track of, and that transform will basically automatically determine where the item's supposed to be, and then we just literally determine what the next item is. If that makes sense. So basically, we spawn it at the default settings right here. Boom, our first item. Then it knows it needs to go along the Y, 100, you know, whatever width is. And it's a tile, so we're good. The next one, it's a tile, we're good. The next one, it knows we're at a corner. So it knows we could still spawn it in, but because we're at a corner, we rotate. Or, once we get to the corner, we know we need to rotate, we handle the rotation first, and then we spawn it in. Now that our transform's already rotated, it knows it moves along, spawns, and does everything. And if we use relative rotation, then it should allow us to basically draw in a circle. I have a feeling that is honestly where some of these issues are coming from. Now that I'm thinking about that, saying that out loud, we are technically getting the actor's location and then grabbing certain things and then setting the relative location. I have a feeling we should be doing things relative to the parent, not to the world, and that's where we've kind of gotten to a problem. Because, I mean, we see that our first wall works how we want it, but then our second wall technically isn't over far enough, which is fine. I know why it's not over far enough. I only told it to spawn 100 away. That's not an issue. This item right here, this should be our first item spawned over here in the corner. And it's not. And that's honestly just simply confusing the hell out of me why it's not over there. Actually, I think I might have answered why it's not over there. Give me a second here. Let's completely eliminate the obvious. No, okay. I thought maybe it wasn't spawning in due to collision. But no, it's choosing to spawn over there. I mean, that is our first item. We should be spawning in a stack mesh component. Hooking up a wall, setting the wall to, the stack mesh to that wall, rotating it by 90 degrees, and then changing the location. Let's just do this. Let's see what happens if we just spawn in. See, there's our wall right there, and our wall is definitely not spawning in the correct spot. Wait, or is it? Is it spawning in the correct spot? Yeah, it is. It's just this stuff is not, this math is not coming in right. It is a wall. Yeah, see, we have different, yeah. We're going to resolve this issue tomorrow. I like where we're at so far. I like this idea. Not tomorrow. Let me rephrase that. We're going to resolve this issue Friday. I'm going to spend tomorrow, probably not prototyping this out, but I'm going to spend tomorrow going through all of the Infinity Blade assets, figuring out if we have some usable free assets that we can use to build walls and our rooms out of. If we don't, I'm going to have to find us either some free and open source stuff that I can redistribute or something in Epic's other contents. I basically need the ability to have a tileable room that we want to draw using something that's pre-built so we can actually have something that looks decent. Using my stuff right here really doesn't help us make a adaptable engine, adaptable generator. So, a weird stream today. I do apologize. a lot of these live streams are intended just to do work and show work and figure out stuff. And like I mentioned at the start of the dungeon generator one, I've done them before, but I've done them really, really stupid. I pre-made the rooms, I did attachment points to the exits and the entrances, and I literally just rotated an entire thing around a scene component and snapped together pieces. It works fine. It's just not very dynamic, and it doesn't give you the ability to have a more customizable dungeon, and that's kind of what we're going at here. And unfortunately, the first part of our dungeon generator is we kind of need rooms to put into our dungeon. So that's what we're working on now. I appreciate everyone hanging out. Hopefully, I know it was kind of a boring today, but hopefully we'll actually get into the meat of things come Friday. Friday should be a 10 o'clock stream. Hopefully I'll be on time again. Other than that, thanks for hanging out. Everyone, feel free to hit me up on YouTube, email, Twitter, Beam, Twitch. Like Pro Tools is saying, it is useful for you guys to see the process. I do appreciate the people who just hang out and at least just hear me yell at myself. Some days are slower than others. That's unfortunate, but it is true. Some days are definitely slower than others. I try not to have slower days, and hopefully with this new format where I can do the research on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, we will have less slower days. But I literally spent like 9 hours working on procedural meshes yesterday, only to get down to this point today, and I had no time between the stream, and I even started late. But again, it's all an improvement. It's all working off the cuff. We'll figure it out. Toss out any ideas. Hopefully maybe someone else comes up with something awesome. Feel free to toss it out. Again, I appreciate it. I'm going to let the stream idle for about 30 seconds, and hopefully I'll remember to shut it off this time. Everyone have a good rest of your day.